So let me ask you something. Are your projects really on track? I mean, sure, knowing you're a few $1,000s off budget, that's one thing. But knowing how efficiently you're using every single dollar, every single hour, that's a completely different level of project mastery. And today, we're unlocking that level.
Welcome, everyone, to PMP EVM Mastery 2026. This is episode 4, and we are diving deep into performance indices. So, by the end of our time together, you'll know exactly how to measure your project's efficiency using ratios. You'll have the SPI and CPI formulas totally locked down. You'll get the critical difference between cumulative and period indices. And, most importantly, you'll be able to interpret these numbers in the real world.
We're going to tackle this in 4 quick steps. First up, why ratios are way more powerful than just looking at dollar amounts. Then, we'll decode the 2 most important formulas in all of earned value management. After that, we'll get into some practical rules for the real world. And finally, we'll learn how to turn all that data into smart, decisive action. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start with the fundamental problem here. You know, in our last explainer, we talked all about variances. And they're great, don't get me wrong, but they only tell you part of the story. They tell you how much you're off, but they don't tell you how efficiently you got there.
Now, check this out, because this really highlights the whole issue. Over on the left, you see variances, right? Absolute dollars. But think about it. Being $50,000 over budget is a complete disaster on a small project, but on a billion-dollar program, it's practically a rounding error. You see the problem? Absolute numbers can be super misleading. But on the right, that's where we have the indices. These give you a pure measure of efficiency. It's like a gauge on your car's dashboard, telling you how well you're performing. And that, right there, is the critical insight we absolutely need. All right, now that we understand why we need these, let's get into the what. It's time to meet the 2 heroes of this explainer, the Schedule Performance Index, or SPI, and the Cost Performance Index, or CPI. I'm not kidding when I say these are the engines of earned value management. First up, we've got the Schedule Performance Index, SPI for short. The formula is just your earned value divided by your planned value. So simple. What it tells you is how efficiently you're moving through your schedule. If that result is less than 1, you're behind. If it's exactly 1, hey, you're perfectly on schedule. And if it's greater than 1, you're actually ahead of schedule, progressing faster than you planned. It's a beautifully simple and incredibly powerful metric. And in exactly the same way, we have the Cost Performance Index, or CPI. The formula here is your earned value divided by your actual cost. This one is all about cost efficiency. A CPI less than 1 means you're over budget. You're spending more money than the value you're actually getting. A CPI of 1 means you're right on the money. And a CPI greater than 1, well, that's the sweet spot. That means you are under budget, getting more than $1's worth of value for every single dollar you spend. Okay, theory's done. Now let's get practical. This section is all about making these formulas stick, understanding the little details, and applying them correctly whether you're sitting for your PMP exam or you're in the boardroom making a big decision. All right, listen up, because here is the single best memory trick for all your EVM calculations. EV is king. Just look at this. In both the variance and the index formulas, earned value, EV, always comes first. It's the number you start with for variances, and it's on top, the numerator, for indices. This simple rule is going to save you from making easy mistakes when you're under pressure. Just remember, always start with EV. Okay, this slide breaks down 2 really key concepts. Up top, you see the power of ratios. Because SPI and CPI are ratios, you can actually compare a tiny little project to a massive program and see which one is being run more efficiently. It's an apples-to-apples comparison. They're perfect for spotting trends. Now, down at the bottom, we see the difference between cumulative and period indices. Cumulative looks at the whole project from day 1. Period just looks at a snapshot in time, like the last reporting cycle. And here's your big exam tip. Unless a question specifically says, for this period, you always assume they mean cumulative. And this brings us to what I think is the most important part of our whole journey. I mean, it's not enough to just calculate these numbers, right? You have to translate them into smart, strategic actions that guide your project to success. So how do you know when you actually need to step in and do something? Well, you use these strategic triggers. Anything above a 1.0, you're in good shape. Great performance. Between 0.9 and 1.0, that's a minor concern. You definitely want to keep a close eye on it. But anything below 0.9, well, that's a serious problem that needs your immediate attention. This whole idea supports something called management by exception, and it's brilliant because it lets you focus your energy only where it's truly needed.
Okay, let's put you in the hot seat for a minute. This is a classic real-world scenario. What do you do if your data shows you're behind schedule, but somehow you're also under budget? I mean, how is that even possible? What's going on there?
Let's break it down. Your report comes in and it shows an SPI of 0.85 and a CPI of 1.15. Okay, that SPI of 0.85, it means you're only progressing at 85% of your planned speed. You are definitely behind schedule. But that CPI of 1.15 means you're getting $1.15 of value for every dollar you spend, which is great. You're being highly cost efficient. So what's the combined story? Behind schedule but under budget. You know what this usually points to? It's the classic signature of using cheaper resources that are also slower.
So, what does this all boil down to? It means that SPI and CPI are absolutely positively critical. They reveal hidden trends about your efficiency that you'd otherwise miss. They're essential inputs for all your forecasting formulas down the line. They let you make proactive decisions instead of just reacting and fighting fires. And yeah, you better believe they are heavily tested on the PMP exam. Mastering these two indices takes your whole EVM game from a basic level right up to expert. And just like that, that brings us to the end of episode 4. In our next episode, we're going to go even deeper into interpretation, exploring what these numbers really mean for your project's future. But before you go, let's do a quick knowledge check. First question, what does an SPI of 0.85 indicate about your planned speed? And second, if your CPI is 1.12, what does that mean for your project's budget? Go on, give it some thought.
Hey, if you want to continue on this journey and really master every single aspect of earned value management, make sure you subscribe to Infinite Business Dynamics for the full PMP EVM Mastery 2026 series. Thanks so much for watching.
Learning reinforcement.
The architecture of efficiency mastering SPI and CPI.
Welcome to PMP EVM Mastery 2026. This episode covers the specialized calculations required for executive-level earned value management. Up to this point, we have measured performance using absolute variances. Schedule variance and cost variance give us raw dollar amounts to determine our position. This diagram compares a $10 million project and a $10,000 project. The flaw in absolute dollars is scale distortion. A $5,000 variance on the massive project is a rounding error. That same variance on the small project indicates a severe structural failure. If leadership looks only at the raw dollars missing, they risk ignoring systemic failures in small projects while overreacting to normal fluctuations in large ones. Absolute variance works for local, daily management, but it is structurally insufficient for C-suite leaders who must compare diverse, multi-million-dollar portfolios on an even playing field. The mathematical solution to this scale distortion is the use of performance indices. Indices shift your analytical perspective. Instead of asking how much money is missing, you ask how efficiently the entire operation is performing. Earned value management relies on two critical efficiency indicators, the Schedule Performance Index, or SPI, and the Cost Performance Index, or CPI. Mastering these two specific ratios provides the mathematical foundation required for accurate predictive forecasting and multidimensional project analysis. We begin with the Schedule Performance Index, the definitive measure of a project's schedule efficiency. This graphic breaks down the specific formula for calculating SPI, earned value divided by planned value. We are mapping the strict relationship between the value you actually earned and the value you plan to earn by this date. When this calculation is exactly 1.0, the project is perfectly on schedule. You've earned what you planned. If SPI is greater than 1.0, the team is ahead of schedule. If SPI falls below 1.0, the project is officially behind schedule. By expressing progress as a ratio, SPI translates abstract time into a standardized, trackable speed limit for the project's execution. The financial counterpart to this metric is the Cost Performance Index, or CPI. This equation shows the formula for CPI, earned value divided by actual cost. Here, we map the relationship between the value of the work completed and the actual money spent to achieve it. Just like SPI, a calculation of 1.0 establishes the baseline. At 1.0, the project is on budget. When CPI reads greater than 1.0, the project is under budget with high cost efficiency. When CPI drops below 1.0, the project is over budget. CPI strips away financial noise to reveal the true purchasing power of every single dollar spent on your project. You will notice a structural similarity between the SPI and CPI formulas. There is a memorization axiom to use here. EV is king. In standard variance calculations, earned value is the starting number you subtract from. This structural breakdown shows that in all EVM ratio indices, earned value is permanently locked in as the numerator. EV always sits physically on top of planned value and actual cost. Internalizing this rule, locking EV at the top of the fraction, prevents common calculation errors during portfolio analysis. The power of these ratios is normalization. A $10,000 project and a $10 million project can be judged on the exact same scale of efficiency. To ensure accurate reporting, we must define the specific time frame being measured. Cumulative indices represent total efficiency. They are calculated using all data from the project's inception date up to the present moment. Period indices isolate efficiency to a specific window. They are calculated strictly using the values from the current reporting cycle. Period indices are useful for spotting sudden, short-term volatility in your team's output. Cumulative indices smooth out that localized data to reveal long-term execution trends. For both the PMP exam and real-world executive reporting, the rule is strict. Unless actively specified otherwise, always assume calculations are based on cumulative indices. Selecting the correct timeframe ensures leadership is reacting to systemic operational trends rather than week-to-week statistical anomalies. To govern portfolio health without micromanaging, leadership requires strict, universal interpretation thresholds. This vertical scale illustrates EVM thresholds. The top tier, greater than 1.0, represents good performance. The middle tier, 0.9 to 1.0, requires active monitoring. The bottom tier, below 0.9, indicates a critical failure demanding immediate action. These rigid mathematical thresholds form the base of isolated metrics to running a combined real-world diagnostic scenario. This matrix plots a project with an SPI of 0.85 and CPI of 1.15. The horizontal axis shows an SPI of 0.85, executing at 85% of planned speed. The vertical axis shows CPI of 1.15, extracting $1.15 of value per dollar spent. Combining these two insights creates a single operational narrative. The project is behind schedule but operating under budget. The data suggests a specific strategic cause. It is likely management chose to deploy cheaper but significantly slower resources. The simultaneous use of SPI and CPI provides the diagnostic depth required to manage projects strategically. SPI and CPI function as the core metrics for active efficiency tracking. Tracking these historical efficiency trends provides the mandatory mathematical inputs required to execute advanced forecasting formulas, like the estimate at completion. To cement these concepts, test your recall with these two practice questions. 1. What does an SPI of 0.85 indicate? 2. If CPI is 1.12, what does it mean for the project budget? Take your time to answer. In Episode 5, we focus on the deep interpretation of EVM numbers and what they reveal about overall project health. Mastering relative efficiency ratios establishes the precision necessary for C-suite level project forecasting. Subscribe to Infinite Business Dynamics for the full PMP EVM Mastery 2026.